Hey everybody, hope you're all well. I've got an hour before I pick the kids up as usual, and I've just come to a spot that I come to every year to try and take pictures of robber flies. I love robber flies. They're such cool animals. When you first approach them, they often fly off and you can lose them, and they're very difficult to find because in this big area there's only 2 or 3 maybe. But I've been doing this a long time and I know what to look for, and when I find them, they usually will see me, let me get close, and then they'll go to, after about 3 or 4 different perches, 4th or 5th time I can usually approach them and get pretty close. And they don't usually mind me as long as I'm slow and quiet. Anyway, I found 2 here. They've just ended up on the same tree. One is a single one and the other is 2 mating. And let's see if they will let us get close now. So I'm just filming this on my phone, and I've been following this one. This is about the 4th perch he's come to. I don't know if that's picking it up. But he's just on there, just here about. And if we just go over there, there are 2 more mating on that branch. And this just gives you an idea of how close you can get. So here's the area that I'm dealing with. It's quite large, but I do find this particular corner of the park is the most productive. As I say, I never usually see 2 or more than 2 or 3, and you really have to know what you're looking for because there's tall grasses, that's where they often are, but they're not that big, so they're difficult to see. Anyway, 3 different ones, 2 mating and 1 ended up on this bush here. So that's where I have just been for the last half an hour. I'm so hot. It must be 30 something degrees today. Work trousers, nice and dirty, but got to be done. So I was using my OM1 and the Olympus 300mm with the teleconverter. I was also using my Nikon Z6 with this old 100 macro, and then I was also using my OM1 with my 60mm with this Raynox thingy on the end, which gets you closer, gets you like to 2 or 3 to 1, I think it is. So yeah. So most people do macro during the night, but I always like doing it with day with natural light. The problem was today is I didn't like how the natural light was reflecting off the iridescent eyes. So actually I was trying to stand between the subject and the sun. So I was casting a shadow over it, and I was worried that's going to scare it because suddenly it becomes black, but that did definitely give me better light. So let's hope they came out well. So hot and sweaty. The second one just flew off and I'm too tired now to look for some more. But I think I've got some nice shots. I tried a number of different combinations, tried to get as close as I could, tried bird out backgrounds. Unfortunately, the background wasn't great where it was, so I always like that clear background. I don't think I could get one, but it was just really fun. I was trying to be at about f8 on the Nikon and about f6 or f7 or f8, I think, on the Olympus. He really didn't mind me getting close. As I said, with the Nikon, I was manual. On the Olympus, I was the single spot autofocus. It seemed to do really well. I did try several in-camera focus stacks. Not sure how they work because I'm so shaky. I've got shaky hands, but I tried a few. But yeah, just really cool. What else did I use? ISO. I think I set ISO to 500. I didn't need to be on ISO auto because there's lots of light. I was ISO 500. Obviously image stabilization. Yeah, let's get back to the computer and see what we got. As I'm walking back to the car, one's just landed right below me. He'll probably fly off. Let's this is not a true reflection of what they're usually like. Most of them are skittish. This one straight away, I'm getting pretty close. So just to give an example of what I was talking about, the light, usually fat, sweaty people are laughed at, but actually they can serve a purpose because they can make really good diffusers, and that's exactly what I did. Because these colours are just horrible. I can't use this. I don't care how much detail there is, despite the horrible background. The selling point, the real wow thing about robot flies are their eyes, and that reflection of the sun there is just horrible. So yeah, I cannot use those. It doesn't matter how sharp they are. But then as soon as I step between the sun and the subject, I just get this much nicer light. And then just look at the eyes now, and you can really see the greens and the reds there, and that is just beautiful. And then if you just go into Photoshop and you just raise, what have I done here? I've raised the shadows, just, you know, very briefly. Again, this is probably a throwaway shot because we've got all this rubbish around here, but those eyes are beautiful, and I like that background colour. But again, such a shallow depth of field. What was this at? This was at ISO 500, 100mm, f10, 1400th of a second. So I took a few pictures. Some were okay, some weren't great because I wasn't really pleased with the light, and I would like to go back on an overcast day. But anyway, let's look at what we got. So I believe this was an in-camera stack on the OM1 with the 60mm 2.8 with the Raynox close-up filter thing on top of the lens, which allows you to get closer, and I think it's equivalent to like 2 or 3 to 1 magnification, which is more than just bare lens. This was f13, 1/640th of a second, ISO 3200, and I usually have it set to 8 shots in camera with a 3 differential. If that's something you want to know about, I can try and do another video about that, but that's a feature of the OM1, which is really good. And as you can see, it comes out pretty well. And this picture is very similar to a picture I took a few years ago, and the background especially reminds me here. This picture was published a few years ago, and I took it in the same place, but I didn't remember the background's yellow, so obviously very similar to that shot, same location, taken quite a few years ago. Love the eyes. That yellow flower in the background is quite nice. Anyway, here's a shot, another shot. This was, the light was much nicer here, where I think I was blocking it with my body. This was, I think, a single shot, so it's not extremely sharp right across the frame, but the key parts, the eye of the fly and the eye of the wasp or the bee, are sharp enough, and you can see all that pollen on the bee. And I think this was 5.6, 200th of a second, ISO 500, and this was a single shot OM1. Again, with the Raynox on the Olympus 60mm. Right, here's another single shot with the Olympus. This was 160th of a second, ISO 800. And the bee isn't particularly in focus, but I just think it's quite a nice shot. Obviously, I was focusing on the robber fly eyes, as always, and they always look cool. So, next shot. This was a in-camera stack focus on the OM1, and I tried to get as low down to try and look up at the two flies to try and give some perspective. They're never symmetrical. The bottom one is often off at an angle, so it's difficult to get them both in focus. But as you can see, these flies multitask. The one at the top is eating while making babies, so very talented. Unfortunately, because this is an in-camera stack, you have to edit the JPEG, and this is where I don't really like this. I don't like the colors of this shot. I wouldn't ever use this shot. It's just for the purposes of this video, I wanted to include a shot of them together. And this was f10, 500 of a second, ISO 500. And as I said, it was difficult editing it from JPEG. If it had been RAW, I would have had much more, the colors would have looked more pleasing to me. And then this was actually the only shot I used with the Nikon Z6, and this was actually 4 shots that I took at the same time, and I did a quick blend in Photoshop, and I think this was f10, 500th of a second, ISO 500, and again, the eye always looks cool. Not a great shot, but yeah, something to show from the video. And then when I borrowed my Olympus 300mm and the extender from Olympus Japan last year, I only had it for 3 weeks, I took this shot with the teleconverter, and I do think this is where the Olympus 300mm f4 really shines, is where you can do pictures of relatively large bugs, and of course you blur out that background, and I quite like this shot, and I think this was probably f5.6 1,500th of a second ISO 500 with the teleconverter. So yeah, those are the shots. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm not sure if you get robber flies. Certainly in England I don't think you do, but they are super cool bugs that I really enjoy photographing. Amazing hunters, and as I showed in the video, you can get relatively close, which is always key for filling the frame. Anyway, let's go back to me in the field. Anyway, I think that's about it. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already and you like what you see, please subscribe. I was looking through my YouTube analytics, whatever it is, the other day, and apparently 70% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed. You obviously hate me. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Take care. Bye.